Hey guys, welcome to another one of my reviews. The good news is, according to the last recording that I had, this my normal digital camera, which I love, which is the Panasonic DMC LX5, shoots videos fine, and what I was worried about was not really much of a concern. This thing shoots files that are almost 3 or 4 times larger than what I was filming with the iPod Touch, which is what my first handful of recordings were using. Thought maybe my computer couldn't handle such a large file size, and so I wanted to opt for a simpler solution. Looks like I didn't have to worry about that, and here you go. So, out of the new wave of the reviews, I would like to introduce to you a Mutagen Ooze canister from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. Now, I think that this is great because since grade school, I was a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's nice to see them have a bit of a resurgence in popularity with the new series. Now, this is something that they've actually done before, where they've sold Mutagen Ooze, and they've, typically maybe I think they've also thrown a character or two inside the ooze, but I don't think it's ever been packaged quite like this. Now, this looks like almost like the traditional Mutagen Ooze containers that you might have seen from the original comics or the original animated series back in 1989, I'd say. I could be wrong. Didn't look it up. Just pulling numbers out of my butt. So, the cool thing here is that there is more detail than you'd expect. They've crafted this maybe with the idea that they'd use this quite often in maybe different colored Mutagen Oozes in the future, hopefully, maybe not, I don't know. Now, the first thing you'd notice is that this container looks, almost like what you'd expect from, like, a movie, where it doesn't look too much like something that is a toy, even though, obviously, it is a toy. Now, another thing that you'll notice is, let's see if we can get a focus in there. Can we do that? Let's get the black screen up here. Okay, there we go. Now, if you'll notice, aside from the hair that's unfortunately stuck in there, there is almost like a silvery sheen to it that looks pretty awesome. And there you have the little Donatello that I had trapped in there. And let me explain why the Mutagen Ooze looks a little dirty. I did drop some of the Mutagen Ooze on the floor, and I guess despite my best efforts, it did pick up an errant whatever. Luckily, it looks like just a normal hair. Can you see that? Let's see if we can do that again. Yeah, just a hair off the top of my head. Not the dirty kind. So, let's get this open. There's, so the neat thing is that there's 2 caps into this, obviously. There's the top cap here, which would be the same as this. And then there's the seal cap. Now, the cool thing about this is that unlike other Mutagen Oozes that they've sold before, this thing almost is like a cross between jelly and something a little bit more liquidy. As you can see here, it's not quite as firm as the oozes that they've sold in the past. Although I'm not sure maybe if toys had used this kind of formula recently, since generally I don't go and look for ooze to buy. The ooze looks, pretty impressive, and I have to admit, this little container here, I am tempted to fill it with some kind of completely unnutritious green drink and just take sips from it, just because I think it would be pretty awesome. But I'd probably have to wash this container out pretty well. So anyway, that's aside from the point. As you can see here, the ooze. But I think the kind of main thing about this is this is partially an ooze toy, partially a thing that you would want to get the container for, because if you're a kid, especially if you're a kid, you would love to be able to recreate the circumstances in which the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had first come about, and you know, this is great towards using your imagination to play for once rather than having everything spelled out for you. Now, each one comes with a little figure that sort of is like a blind bag, except it's not, because if you shift around the Mutagen Ooze enough, you'd be able to find it, see which one you got. You can actually see the sparkles that are on my hands, but here you go. Here is the little Donatello figure. When I did buy this, I didn't bother choosing which turtle I wanted, because really, I like blind bags. I like the concept of them. I like thinking that whatever I choose, I'll get, and I'll leave it up to fate. The sculpting on this is pretty good. Obviously, there's not much in way of colorization. It's all green, despite the fact that even in turtle mode, he's already wearing his little bandana over his eyes, or whatever you'd call, you know, his little mask or whatever. So, you know, I think they actually could have done without that, but I guess somebody decided to sculpt it in anyway. But yeah, he's got a little bow staff that designates him Donatello. Obviously, the other, you know, Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael are going to have their respective weapons, although I did not look for them or anything. Now, the funny thing is that the pricing for these seemed to vary greatly, especially in the New York area. At Kmart, you'd be able to pick this up for about either $6.50 or $7.50, but if you go to the Toys R Us at Times Square, it's going to be $9.50, which I think is pretty outrageous, given that inherently this thing doesn't have too much play value. It's more of an imagination item in the way that in the way that almost maybe a Halloween costume might be, except maybe a little less functional, because maybe you can just carry this around. I don't know. I'm just blabbering on now. But all in all, I'm pretty happy about this, and you know, perhaps if I find it again and I have a little extra spare change that week, I might pick up another one and turn that into my cup, fill it with green Kool-Aid. Oh, you know what? Well, you know what would actually be pretty great? Getting one of those tiny glow sticks in here, popping it in with the green Kool-Aid, and drinking it. And you know, well, you know what? I shouldn't advise that, because there's going to be some idiot who's going to drink the light stick and die, and then they're going to try to blame it on me. So don't do that, kids. That's the thing that I'm going to do. If anything, I'm going to die. All right.